How is everyone doing? Good. So I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. Welcome to the No More Starving Artists Foundation office. We officially opened on the 2nd of this month, and don't ask me how we were able to pull this all off in such a short time, but we did. We have 3 artists in residence. One is sitting in the back, R.G. Taylor. Jess Kirby is not here. She's curating a show tonight, and Jose Mendez will be here probably later on this evening. So we help artists in our community be sustainable personally and professionally, and we've been doing this for about 8 years. For 8 years, I've been running this organization out of my home, except for if we do pop-ups and exhibitions. So we help artists around the county, primarily, but not exclusively. We've also worked with artists in South Florida and across the state of Florida. And I'm just excited to be here. So today we're unveiling my book, Exposure Doesn't Pay the Bills. And those of you who are creatives have heard people wanting to pay you with exposure, so we're going to dive into that. So I think we're going to get started.
All righty. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. My name's Suzanne Redmond, and I know I've met a lot of you, and if I don't remember your name, it's just because I've gotten old. I don't remember names as well, so I apologize for that. But so I have been invited by Trina to come here and help her talk about her book. So I've got some questions that I put together. But I've actually known Trina. We were trying to figure it out, like 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. And I've seen her display and exhibit her art and sell it, but the biggest thing is I've seen her promote and advocate for other artists. And that, to me, is where her genius lies. She's a great artist, but her genius lies on the business side of things. So I was so excited to hear that she put together this book talking about the business side of art, because everybody needs help with that. Everybody. And this woman is a wealth of information. So to have finally put it in a book form is just so fantastic. And you're very fortunate that she's done that. So the other thing I wanted to point out is this is an art scene in the Peach. And Trina's probably one of the reasons, a big reason why there is an art scene in Palm Beach County at all, because she and Anthony started the Continuum pop-up galleries many years ago now, and they've just done so many things for artists throughout the county. So cheers to both Anthony and Trina on that. All right, so when I say Trina has done Continuum and these other pop-up art shows and events like this, Trina has done the nuts and bolts, the start to finish. So she's curated the show. She's first found the space, talked to the venue owner, negotiated how to use the space. She's done the call to artists and then reviewed the art and finding a team of other people to help her to choose the art and hang the art. She's done every aspect of it. So this book will be very helpful when you take a look at it. And I wanted to ask her just a few questions just to get her mind going on it, and that can spark your interest in reading the whole book. So let me start by saying, Trina, you've been an artist and businesswoman for so many years.
Right.
Why did you decide to write this book now?
Well, the reason I started the process, I've been curating for a long time, but people were asking me to go to their organizations and groups to help them with their artists. So an example would be Martin County. They brought me up there to do a business developing plan with them. And this is way before the nonprofit. It was called the No More Starving Artists mantra. So I was breaking down elements of how these group of people could get their work out there and be part of things than just the one thing they were doing. And a lot of these people were doing just the art festivals in their community. They really weren't getting into galleries or trying to be part of galleries. So me doing all these webinars and workshops, I had all this information. And I just said, I think it's time. When I'm asked the same question over and over again by different people, and they can utilize it how they want. It could be a visual artist asking me or a dancer that asked me the same exact question. And I felt like why not have something at their access instead of them waiting around when they bump into me at an event?
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this way they have access, they can go online and buy it, or, contact me if they want it directly from me. I just thought it was time.
Yeah.
And with the climate of all this transition from when COVID happened up until now, I really feel it's necessary for creatives to start taking ownership of their careers. Excuse me, really understanding what it means to be a business owner and what it takes to do it.
Very good point. Yes. Okay, so your first chapter, you've titled it Treat Your Art Like a Business.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important? Why do we need a business if we're just going to be making art?
Well, so many artists are asking, I want somebody to buy my art. Once someone invests in you and puts money into your hands for your art, you're technically officially a business anyway. So we had growing pains. There were things that we did way back in the day that I look back, I'm like, God, I was silly. Like, why would I do that? But you need to do things as simple as separating your banking. Your personal banking should not really be connected to your business banking. Those little things. And so I even looked at what Anthony and I did and the mistakes we made, and trying to stop artists from making those same mistakes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even people who are in the entertainment portion, you're used to going to someone else and they handle all that. But I want it to be about you handling it for yourself. Especially a lot of people that want to go independent, they need to know the business side. And if you're so used to your HR department handling all that, that's wonderful. But now you need to do the investigation of what it takes for you to take care of yourself properly for now until your future.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so I know that successful artists and probably all the people in here, they're making income from diverse ways. So yes, you can sell your art, but there might be other ways. Can you give us like some ideas of some other ways? And can you also tell everybody what you mean by passive income, which is another way of making money as an artist?
So other ways. So for instance, here at the Peach, I can use this as a really good example. The artists set up their work during Art Walk, so they can sell their artwork there. So those are visual artists. They have performing artists in the gallery space. They're also doing something that's earning them income while they're working here. Even the DJ that's back here, that's another way for people to earn income. But passive income could be something like you have your work online, like my books are online, right? You can buy my books there. I'm a writer. I'm also a visual artist. I'm also a writer. So that's like another form of income that can come in, my household that I could earn money for. And then the other part of it is I take that money, and some of that money is going back into the nonprofit. So it's not just about me pocketing the money and making the money, but it's also giving back from that as well.
Yep.
So making those connections, doing things that allow you to use your talent to earn income.
Right. And the book, that's a perfect example. That's something where the work has already been done. You've done this book, and then you'll be making sales for quite some time.
Right.
Okay. Welcome. I'm glad you found a seat.
I knew it would come in handy.
Yeah. Okay, so in your book, you have a pretty good sized chapter about marketing. And one of the things you talk about is having a niche. So as an artist, why is it important to specialize with your art? Why can't I just do painting and sculpture and sing and do that? Do the world.
It makes you stand out from the next person.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things we were talking about, for instance, with the art walk, and I'll be referencing that a lot, is even when we want to set up this art walk, we don't want everybody to be the same. We want people to be their own unique thing. So even if you're bringing in a painting that shows your work, you want to show something that makes you stand out from that painter over in the next bag. So for instance, my work, for instance, I do illustration and I paint, but I also do fiber art. So you can go into Anthony's space and get his illustration, or not illustration, but his drawings. But you can also get some of the other unique things that he has, like his little cigar boxes. So like if you're not in the market to buy these huge pieces, you get these unique things that he's created to make
Mhm.
it accessible for the public. So finding something that kind of makes you stand out from that next person is important because it also makes you memorable and what people want to
Mhm.
come back and invest in you.
Right. I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good example because Anthony, as other artists do, he's diversified and he has 3D objects,
Hmm.
but it's still his same style of painting. He's not suddenly doing a 3D object with charcoal portrait,
Right.
something on it. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So in the Peach, you have quite a few studios here, and I know you've collaborated with different artists.
Hmm.
Why do you think it's important to collaborate?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Why?
I think it's very important. One of the reasons is because, for instance, my clients, let's say you and I collaborated on a project, you have
Mm-hmm.
clients that really believe in what you do and
Mm-hmm.
support you, and I have people that support me. Now we can kind of exchange those people. They can kind of see, oh, well, I love what you did with Suzanne. Now I could probably support her as well. We have clients all the time that might come to an event or come to our home and come for specifically our stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but then see one of the pieces we have on the wall of pieces we've purchased, and they're like, "Oh, tell me a little bit about that artist." So it's
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity for people to get to know us separately and together. We can introduce people. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing is, for instance, I've done stuff where I've written work and then added to artwork, so
Mm-hmm.
with another artist. So that's a good way to collaborate because maybe that piece of work wouldn't have been so engaging had it not had that extra touch with that collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a few different things, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yep. Yes, I agree with that. And collaboration, any event that has more than one artist, you're collaborating because you're bringing
Absolutely.
in your clients and your collectors and they're seeing all of your work, but then they're going to see the other artists too. And that's one of the biggest things that
Right.
you and Anthony have done over the years.
The other thing is I feel like you can also learn from each other.
True. Mm-hmm.
You could absolutely learn something from that other individual you've
Mm-hmm.
collaborated with. Anthony and Craig collaborate all the time on
Mm-hmm.
things, and they kind of learn things from each other and kind of morph their stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
each other sometimes. So it's pretty cool to watch that kind of energy happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay, so your book is titled Exposure Doesn't Pay the Bills.
Hmm.
And I think every artist has had some kind of experience where somebody has said, can you donate a work of art or can you give me this for free? um,
Hmm.
but you do make the point that exposure doesn't have to be a bad word.
No, it
So you
doesn't.
can still get exposure. So can you kind of talk about that for a little bit? So when somebody comes across that and somebody, as an artist, somebody is asking you, hey, can you donate this for a fundraiser or a nonprofit event?
Right.
When would it be a good time to do something
I,
like that?
I think it's the responsibility of the artist to have a conversation with the person that's approaching them because you don't just want to say absolutely not, no.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be a way for them to meet in the middle somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's about developing a relationship. Maybe the artist at that time is like, you know what, I'm open to this.
Mm-hmm.
But that allows you to have time to have the conversation. Now, normally, if I did this and then explain what your criteria is, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give you a direct example because everybody's situation is
Mm-hmm.
different. But now, if the same person is coming back to you constantly and say, "Well, you know what? We're a nonprofit, and we're a nonprofit. We
Right.
find money. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If we can't pay
Mm-hmm.
you immediately, we're not going to make you do something. We will find the money to pay you. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
do. Not every organization is the same, but I think it's important for the artist to say, "Look, this is how I earn my living. Maybe there's a way that we can meet in the middle. Maybe there's a way that it won't just be about you getting this for free." And then
Mm-hmm.
have stipulations, have a contract stating, all right, I'm donating this for your silent auction. Maybe you can set a reserve for that piece of art. So
Mm-hmm.
you make a certain amount of money from that silent auction. And then after that, the rest goes to the nonprofit. Now, if the artwork doesn't sell, they need to put it in the contract that the work comes back to the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen over the years a lot of organizations that'll just keep the art. And sometimes I've gone to people's homes and Like, oh, that's
Surprise,
a beautiful piece
there
of
it
art.
is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, it was at this auction, it didn't sell and I got it. That's
Right.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, let them know what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll respect the artist more too if they're just upfront with it. I've seen a lot of organizations like, I never thought of that. Sometimes
Yeah.
just giving them the information makes the difference. Sometimes they don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you're saying, look, this is what I need, I want to help you and I want to work with this organization. You know what I mean? And sometimes what ends up happening, you always say, look, I want to be part of this too. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can give me some tickets, and then when you're at the event, talk up the art to get the crowd
Excellent.
excited about
Mm-hmm.
buying it. And then it will sell possibly, but
No, that's a very good point. Attend the event, and then you'll be able to talk to everybody and say, "Oh yeah, that's my art right there. I've donated this for this cause, and I make other art just like that."
right, right.
Yeah, but she makes a good point about that. You're educating the consumer too, because I don't know why, but it just doesn't occur to them that they should pay an artist.
I had people coming to me asking me about having whole bands perform for their nonprofit. I'm like, they got to bring equipment, they pay
Yeah.
insurance on the equipment. I mean, all
Yeah.
these different things that people don't think about.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is like, there's another thing that I put in there about essential fees. So an essential fee basically is stuff that pays your basic things, your insurance, your travel, your gas, your food, and then you sneak in there maybe a ticket or two to be at the event. That if they can't even afford your essential fee, that's when you need to make a decision. Is this someone I want to do business with?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the essential fee should be pretty cut and dry. And sometimes they'll look at it and say, geez, with that, I might as well just pay you what you're worth. So let me find the money and just pay you. But,
Yeah.
some people are like, we can afford to cover your insurance, the essential fee, for now. Going forward, I would love to be able to find somebody to underwrite this on your behalf. You know what I mean? So at least, again, there's a dialogue and some kind of communication involved.
Right. And I was talking to Anthony or Trina tonight, and they were saying that once you've done something for free, then they're going to ask you again for it for free and again for it for free. And so you have to really establish that precedence. Yeah.
Put your foot down,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So you mentioned that if you are donating something for a nonprofit, so meaning you may not be getting any money, you're still doing a contract. And I think that that was noteworthy that you said that. A contract is very important for an artist. Can you talk about times when you need a contract?
Anytime you make a business decision that's going to involve them acquiring work from you, getting information from you, and information is part of your talent too. Anything that's going to be a transaction where you're disclosing something that belongs to you and it's going to someone else should be a contract. Because if something goes wrong, you have it in writing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it in writing, someone could say whatever, didn't we say this or didn't I do this? And there's no proof, you know what I mean? So I feel that a contract is absolutely necessary. If you don't know how to write one, now you got Chat GPT. But if you have someone who is a lawyer friend, say, hey, I need your help kind of constructing this, as simple as possible, but I want to make sure that I'm protected because that contract protects you. So.
Yeah, and contract is a big, scary word, but it could just be a one-page document that it says, I'm dropping off this painting for you to display in your office from this date to that date. I get it back at the end on this date, unless you sell it, and this is how we get the money if it's sold. It's can be very simple, so don't get scared of things like that.
Some of you have done Continuum with me, and I know some of those Continuum contracts are very, very detailed. But I've done, like, even in this space, it's a very simple contract. This is the expectation. This is the time frame you're going to be here from this time to this time. If there's cash or money involved, you mentioned the money in there. If there are laws in the state that you're working in, make sure you have that. It's based on the state of Florida, based on the state of California, whatever it is. Make sure those little things are there. It doesn't have to be very long. And I can admit, I was one of those, oh my God, a contract, another contract.
I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I started going through these books and I
Mhm.
referenced some of those books in my book. And that kind of helped me. And it also allowed me to figure out how to decipher what's important information versus what's just a lot of fluff,
Mhm.
too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So another aspect of a contract might be a deposit when you're selling something or providing a service, doing a performing a performance. Can you give some examples where you've required a deposit?
Yeah, actually doing renting to an artist in a
Okay.
space. Yeah, they had to put down the deposit for,
Hmm.
you know, being in the space, you know,
Hmm.
and something as simple as that. When we do work for other people, when we do work, commission work, there's a deposit that's being exchanged before we
Hmm.
even start the job.
Hmm.
So, and it's listed in the contract. Okay, this is how much we're charging you.
Hmm.
This is how much you pay up front. That's your deposit.
Hmm.
Um, I can't tell any other artists how they want to do it. Usually, our deposits are non-refundable. It doesn't have to be that way based on the situation.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's really about what works for you as the creative,
Hmm.
you know, because some people are like, oh, you know what, I don't, I decided I don't want to do this project. I'm just going to give the deposit back. That's fine. You know, that's something you need to discuss with the person you're doing the work with.
Right, right. And you can't have you can't think to yourself when you're doing any of these things and say, "Well, I trust them. I know them." Because how many times has it exploded with
Yeah,
somebody who was a friend or you felt that you really trusted them? And
right.
one of the categories would be commission work when
Hmm.
somebody is asking you to paint a big mural and what then they cancel after you've already bought all the materials
Right.
and or even started it.
We had an
Yeah.
artist that was speaking to us the other day, and something similar to that happened. And
Wow.
what I said to her was, I hope you at least, when you got your deposit, it was enough that it at least covered that plus a little bit extra. I always believe that it should be your cushion. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you're not stuck like, oh my God, I just spent all this money on materials and
Yeah.
now there's no project.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But they have to know you're not getting that deposit back.
Hmm. Yep. Okay, you have another chapter and it's titled Be Current, Be Unique, Be You.
Mhm.
So you're talking about do you want to should you make art that's like popular art or um,
Mhm.
but sometimes you say popularity should not be your driving force when you're
No.
making art. So what do you mean by that?
So those of you who have gone to these galleries that are the pop galleries where they take someone who's no longer with us and they put their spin on it because it's popular. That's what's selling in some galleries. I mean, I'm not a fan. Some people are. You can sit here.
Mhm.
You can sit there too. I'm not personally a fan, but some people love that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm one of the types because I'm also a collector. I'm not just an artist. I'm also a collector. I like to see the uniqueness of the individual artist, what drives them, what they're feeling, the colors that they choose. I just like to connect with them. When I start seeing that there are a group of artists that are following each other because that's what's popular and trending now, what's going to happen next time? What are you doing next? So again, my thing is recommendation. It's not about me telling you what to do. I personally, as a collector, rather see their heart, not what they can copy from
Mhm.
the next person who just sold something because everybody else loved that. So if the trend is red because everybody's creating red stuff, for instance, but I don't know you for red work, you know what I mean? I may not end up buying your work because now
Mhm.
you're just copying the trend. You're not doing what your true soul is. So again, I can't tell you to do other things, but I can tell you as a consumer, I want to see you. I don't want to see that person because then I would have bought that person's stuff.
Right. Yeah. Mhm. One of the things you talk about is finding out what's going on in your community. So,
Hmm.
like this, all of you found out that there was this fun event tonight. Why is that important to get involved with your community?
Because they get to know who you are as a creative.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of people. who have come to events of ours and they've said, "Oh, I knew her from the work that I do. I didn't know she was an artist." A great example is Barbara Cheeves. She's
Right.
heavy in the community. A lot of people didn't know she was an artist. You know what I mean? So looking at from that perspective, it gets you a different connection that would have just been the work that you do, but it's also about the creative side of you. And then you can open up more doors for yourself and more opportunities for yourself.
Right, right, because you're going to meet all these fine people when you go to
Mhm.
these events. All right. Okay, so as everyone knows, she recently moved her business operations for No More Starving Artists Foundation here. But you started in your home. What's your feeling on that? Why did you want to move out of your home, or why did you want a separate office space? And can you also talk about it in terms of separate studio spaces? Do you recommend that for artists and business people?
Absolutely. In this particular situation, we had a 5-year plan. And we had like 2 more years and it would have been our 10-year anniversary. So the goal, and I have a few of my board members here, the goal was probably within that 5-year plan, we would have eventually found something. Anthony moved here after leaving another studio. We already did some partnerships here at the Peach already because we are friends with a lot of the Peach artists, and 2 of the artists are actually on my board. So the space became available. Craig and I fought really hard to get the space from the business owner that owns the property. And I just felt like it was, it was meant to happen when it happened. That's how I look at it. One of my board members and he helped me write a grant. So we were planning in bits and pieces on this opportunity to happen. But once it did, I had to grab it. It was so necessary. I mean, I love this, being able to work from home and not being bothered, and I could just work and be in my own space. But there's something about the synergy of having other people around that makes the difference. Yes, I run the organization, but I'm also an artist, so it can kind of encourage me and influence me to create as well.
True. Yeah.
So it was necessary. We had some great opportunities that happened literally within the last few days because we were in this building that I might not have been able to do had I been at home.
Okay.
Even though they knew about the organization and people were helping us the way they could, this kind of solidifies and kind of makes it more real to people, not just seeing it on the internet or seeing it on a t-shirt. Or
this isn't a hobby.
Right. Yeah. That it's actually real. And we've done a lot and proved ourselves on a lot of different areas, but just having a place for people to come to does make the difference.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And the same thing for artists having a studio space. They're getting ready, they're planning for the next artist tour through the Cultural Council. There's something about people being able to go to these artist studio spaces and seeing them at work that a lot of times makes the difference.
I've seen that, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing like with performing artists. Like I know people who are in bands and sometimes people like to pop in while they're jamming or whatever. It makes the difference. We go to certain events and we've booked musicians because we were able to go to their destination where they're at and say, okay, we can use them for an event. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Validates it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go back to something she just said and just repeat it because I thought it was awesome.
I don't remember what it was.
She said, we have a 5-year plan. We had a 5-year plan with this business that we're doing. And so we knew that eventually we would like to be in an outside space, and then an opportunity came to us. So she made herself ready for that opportunity because she had already talked to herself or written it out in a plan and said, okay, this is my plan, that this is one of the things. So when somebody said that to her, or she was talking to Craig or whatever, that the space is open, she was ready. And I think that was that's really a good thing.
And it did make the difference because I had something in writing for myself of what I wanted to do. And actually, it was 2 separate things. The residency thing was totally separate from the office thing. Like I had something totally different in mind. But when both opportunities kind of found themselves at the same time, it would be crazy if I didn't take the opportunity to do this. It just would have been nuts.
Yeah, but you had prepared yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think that was my last question.
Okay.
So one of the things I wanted to do is point out that this book is a wealth of information. I don't know if you mentioned this, but I edited the book for her, so I've read it over start to finish a couple of times, and it's fabulous. But it's a wealth of information. She's got a whole chapter on protecting your legacy, and you may not think about that. Well, who am I? I don't have a legacy, but you do. You have art, and where's that art going when you're gone? How are you preparing your family to do something with your art or your supplies or your, I don't know. Read the whole chapter. It's this great one. And the other one I wanted to point out is she's also listed a bunch of artist documentaries, websites, and podcasts that may provide information or inspiration for you. So I wanted to just point out those back things.
And a couple of things. I want to thank some of my contributors who are in the audience now. They gave a lot of information as well. And that was actually the start of that part. I reached out to a group of people who have been in my life at some capacity, or I've been part of their life at some capacity, who I knew would have the right information and advice for creatives. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys. The other thing I want you to keep in mind that on social media, a lot of this information you can follow some of those people. Some of them might be a little bit over the top, but that's okay. We're not telling you to act like them. What I'm telling you is kind of take the information that they're doing. Because I learned a lot from a lot of them, even the referrals, because some of them I didn't follow until another artist referred them to me. And in the book situation, I know a lot of people don't read books anymore, but some of those books is what got me through a lot of the business that we've done. Some of them had nothing to do with visual art. Some of them had to do with music, for instance. There were contracts in that music book that I was like, oh, I can use this myself. I could just, move some stuff and move things around. So yeah, I highly recommend that you think about that. And as far as the legacy part, someone came in here the other day and was talking about what they wanted to do with their legacy and how they can help us in our nonprofit space while developing their legacy. They're not married and they don't have children, so they're making a plan now instead of waiting until they pass on and there's nobody to make those decisions. And that also goes in the digital sector. If you have work out there in the internet world, make sure you have things set in place so your reputation stays intact. Because if you pass on and you have things going on, and now with AI, they can manipulate stuff. So if you have that stuff in writing with a lawyer, that makes the difference between people remembering you as this great person and then some person with AI comes along and is like, that, can you believe this? Did you see Sonia's thing? And I know to myself, that's not Sonia, but she didn't protect herself because she didn't have somebody say, if this happens, my lawyer's going to jump in and make sure that it's handled, or my family's going to jump in and make sure this is handled. So just some things to think about, because legacy is not just about ego. Legacy is about your reputation now until you're gone.
She gave the example of the artist Prince. Can you tell them what happened with his estate?
So those of you, all y'all that know me, know I'm a Prince lover. I know just about everything about Prince.
Yeah.
And my friend Angela from New York knows, because I've loved him since we were kids. When he passed away, he did not have children. He was twice divorced, and he had nothing in writing saying how he wanted his reputation and his legacy to be fulfilled. And he passed away, and I know now you see a lot of stuff online with his music being played just anywhere. Well, when he was alive, if he saw his music even on YouTube, he would sue you. He had people in place that would handle that. So it was rough because he had a sister, full sister, and then several half siblings, and a production company who were pretty much battling it out for his estate. So first the IRS had to handle what was there. Once the IRS was done with them, then they had to split it several ways. So his sibling, his full-blood sibling, didn't have full autonomy over his estate. So you have to think about that. Those of you who know Prince, he was very, very particular about how his reputation and his music was being played and used um, for the world because he felt it was for the world, but the way he wanted it. And sadly, I guess, he was 57 when he died. I'm 57 now. I'm not thinking about dying, and I'm sure he didn't either, but you don't know. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. So I think it's important that people really start thinking about how that's going to play and what needs to be done, especially if you have children, especially if you have adult children, because I've seen some really nasty situations where people don't have their stuff together and families are arguing and fighting. So, with your music catalogs and with your visual catalogs, with your acting catalogs, you want to make sure that things are set in place. And I have to think about even those who are single and not, or not no longer married. That's even more so that you need to take care of that. So that's just
Yeah.
Prince was probably, I always think about that was put into my lap to let people know it can be tough. And depending on whatever state you're in, like Minnesota is probably the toughest state as far as estate planning and all that stuff. So you need to make sure that that's done right. So just something to think about.
And you may have adult children and you just say everything goes to them, but what if they don't really care about your art? Hopefully they do.
Right.
But you may say, well, no, I want to give it to my best friend because she's always loved my art and my kids don't care. So that's
Right.
something too. And it's just putting it in writing ahead of time. And but another thing she did talk about in Legacy is also as a sole proprietor, business owner, as an artist, what have you done to help yourself get ready for retirement? Now, as artists, you don't need to retire. You can keep doing it forever. But what if you don't want to do it forever? What if you want to start traveling the world or do something different? Have you set yourself up financially?
And retirement doesn't mean stopping creating.
Right.
What that means is how you're going to be taking care of yourself by a certain age. So when you're working for a company and you retire from that company, there are things set in place. So you have to literally be your own HR person now because you no longer have them to handle your 401ks and that kind of stuff. So that's where you want to make sure, first of all, that you're paying into a 401k or under a Roth IRA or something, so that when you hit 65 and up, you have a way to be able to travel if you want to travel or whatever the case, you know what I mean? Or just to live. If you just want to be able to paint in your house and that's all you want to do, something needs to be, you need money, correct? So if you have those things in place, there'll be a better chance of you being okay. So a lot of people get nervous when I'm like, well, when you retire, but I'm an artist, I don't retire. Again, we're not talking about you no longer creating. That's not, in fact, that's when you want to do most of your creating when you're retired. But if you haven't saved any money, you're going to be going back to work, period.
Yeah.
So
yeah. How many people have done paintings this big and then you're loading them all in the back of your car and they're taking it somewhere to hang, and then you show up and then they say, well, we expect you to hang it, so then you're doing it, and then you say, am I still going to do that when I'm 70?
Right. I mean,
I still want to make paintings, but I don't think I want to be carting them around all over the county.
Anthony said that exact thing. He's like, I don't want to be doing this at 70. I want to just be creating my art. I don't want to be worrying about if I'm going to sell it or not. I don't want to worry about any of that. I just want to be able to create.
Yeah.
So that,
And that's where the passive income will help too. When you continue to sell your books or license your art. And
there's a whole section in there about licensing. So
yeah. So thank you, Trina, for writing this wonderful book. So Trina, we're going to rearrange these chairs a little bit so Trina has a little desk and she can sign some books for you.
Awesome.
Actually, I take that back. Does anybody have questions? We didn't really say. I forgot about that part.
Sorry about that.
We're going to sit back down. Does anybody have any questions for Trina?
There was one point where you said that if you're pretty much working for yourself, you have to learn how to do everything yourself. But I imagine there are still things that you outsource.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I don't advise you to be your own lawyer or like do your own accounting if you're really bad with numbers. Yeah, there are going to be things that you need to hire somebody for. You just have to plan for that. So if there's, of course it's going to cost you something, or sometimes it's bartering. Sometimes it's about like somebody might be able to do your taxes if you give them a painting, however that looks. But don't do things that you know you're not good at, because it's not going to help you, you know. I'm decent at writing stuff, but there's things that I will go to Suzanne. I'm like, oh, Suzanne, can you please do that? Whatever it costs, I just don't even want to think about it. And she's good. She's great with doing artist statements and doing bios and that kind of stuff. And honestly, I know everybody likes to use Chat GBT and all that, but there's nothing better than somebody that's writing about you that knows about you. Because Chat GBT only knows what you feed it. And if you haven't fed it anything, it doesn't know anything. So find somebody that can help you in areas that you are really not good at. So like those of you who hate math, because I know there's a lot of you out here, some of y'all told me that, make sure you get an accountant. You know what I mean? Don't try to do your taxes. Make sure you have somebody that's reminding you that there's certain things that you got to get done at certain times. So there are people that can do that for you. So absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions? Don't be scared. I think you think because you're on camera, you don't want to say nothing.
Oh, now you've done it. They didn't even know they were on camera.
That's fine. If you come up with anything, let me know. Thank you, guys. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, when you're done, you can mingle